Hello there. Today is day 101, so we're doing accounting 101. Everybody's favorite topic. I think this is going to be interesting. Of course, I think this is going to be interesting because I think accounting is interesting. But I think part of the problem that people have with accounting is they don't really know what it is. Like, there's a lot of unknowns about it. It's kind of a big wall of unknown, you might say. So it's tough to know where to start or how to even Google it. Well, I guess that's starting because you don't know what you don't know. So to me, accounting is recording the activities of a company in terms of numbers, like in a different language, basically. So accounting is a language that we use to describe the activities of a company. That's a better way to say it. We record all of the transactions that are happening, and we do it within the framework. And so that's partly why it's so tough for people who don't study accounting to understand accounting, is because in some cases it seems logical, but in a lot of cases you just have to know the rules. And that's kind of like English, right? Like, you could speak English by just sort of throwing out words here and there, or you can understand English if it's not spoken well necessarily. But that there's a lot of rules in English, and sometimes you just have to know those rules. Like, neighbor is a weird word to spell. Like, you can't really sound it out in order to spell it. So accounting is kind of like that. You can't necessarily sound out the rules. And I think that's a big, one of the big issues is that those rules are not very well written in some cases. And I shouldn't say rules. In Canada, we have a principles-based system. So what that means is that we don't have rules exactly. Well, we do. Like, we have the generally accepted accounting principles, which is GAAP. We have the International Financial Reporting System. Statements? No, it's system, which is obviously the internet, like IFRS. And so we have these different frameworks, and they do have rules, but it's also a principles-based system. And so it's about applying the spirit of that rule to any given situation, which is partly why it's so difficult to understand, and partly why you get a lot of sometimes conflicting information, or maybe it's difficult to read because there's not a lot of like, if this, then this, else this. There's not a lot of that. It's a lot of like applying what you know, using professional judgment, that kind of thing. So that's what makes it tough to really understand. But accounting 101, now that we have an understanding of what accounting generally is, what is it trying to tell us? Well, it's trying to describe what the company owns, the money that it owes to other people, the piece of the assets that actually belongs to the company, or I should say the shareholders of a corporation, maybe if it's a corporation, or the sole proprietor if it's a sole proprietor, although that one's, I don't want to get into the details of that one because that's a little bit. And then the profit and loss statement, which is the snapshot. It's over a given period. So if you have an income statement that you've run for a month, then it's all the transactions that have happened within that month, revenue and expenses within that month. And in recording these within the framework, we can look at an income statement and a balance sheet and cash flow statement. We can tell a lot about a company. We can tell, especially if we have a comparative statement, if we have last year's statement to look at compared to this year, we can tell a lot. We can say, oh, they took on a lot of debt. Like, maybe they made a lot of money over last year, but they took on a lot of debt as well. Maybe the income statement is showing that there's revenue, but maybe the cash flow statement says there's not a lot of cash. And we can use all these numbers together to really tell a story about how this company is doing and how it's likely to do in the future. So I think all of this is extremely interesting. I think that this is interesting for small business owners as well, because you can learn a lot from your financial statements. They can tell you things like, or I should say from your financial information, like the bookkeeping and the records and stuff that you have, because you can tell, who's your most profitable customer. You can tell whether, like, maybe you've made money, maybe your revenue has gone up, but also your costs have gone up, and maybe your costs went up a lot more than revenue did. So maybe you doubled your sales. I love hearing about, like, I'll help you double your sales in the next 3 months or something like that, because that is one number. That's one number. What if you doubled your sales, but expenses tripled? You'd be in trouble then, probably. I mean, definitely, because the ratio between your income and expenses has changed significantly, and not for the better. So I think really understanding that accounting is a story that we're telling, and that you can read the story of your own company in your financial statements, and that you're going to learn some things, and some really important things in being able to run your company. And you can absolutely run a company without understanding your financial statements, but you will always get to a point where you cannot grow any bigger. And that point is a little bit different for every company, but you're always going to reach a ceiling if you don't understand your financial information and your situation, because you get to a point where your company just can't grow anymore because there's inefficiencies, or you don't understand where you're spending money, or you have customers that you take a lot of effort but maybe aren't super profitable, and there's just all these little pieces that you can't know intuitively and that your financial information can tell you. And so your company is going to be sort of stuck in that, at that level, if you don't understand your financial information. I have created a course just for this. It's free. It's 5 days. I send you an email every day, and it's just a bite-sized little piece of information that you need to be able to decode your own financial statements. I send you a video as well as a written article, so if you prefer to read, then it's there. If you prefer a video, then I've done that too. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I left the link in the description, so go over there, check that out, and I look forward to contacting you / talking to you. Let me know what your favorite thing about accounting is in the comments, or your least favorite thing. I'd love to know either favorite thing or least favorite thing in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow.